Hello and welcome, guys, to another fantastic episode of OnReviewCast. I'm your host here, Ash, and today we're taking a look at something that we've been waiting for a very, very long time. It's, Interview with the Vampire, Season 2, Episode 1 on review. Let's get into it. So, yeah, right off the bat, like every other episode, we're going to start off with our episode synopsis, courtesy of Fandom. And the first episode is called What Can the Damned Really Say to the Damned? And it's the first episode of the second season of Interview with a Vampire and 8th episode of the series overall. It aired May 13th, 2024 on AMC and AMC Plus and was written by Hannah Mostovich and directed by Craig Aziz. Let's get into it, guys. Welcome, guys. First of all, if this is your first time hearing us, like I said, I'm your host here, Ash, and we've covered actually Interview with the Vampire already, like season 1. We went through the whole blasted of season 1, and we did a whole breakdown here. This is going to be a little bit different. Our show is going to be changing, guys, a little bit from the podcast, regular for a podcast of an hour. We're going to cut it down a little bit. You'll be noticing a few changes around here. But this is basically the new format, so get used to it from here on in. So, episode 1 of the season 2 of Interview with a Vampire. Man, honestly, getting into this, wow. I mean, yeah, it didn't. The way I would start it, because we know this universe. I'm excited to talk about this. Louis, we'll pick it up from last season. We know that, okay, right off the bat, and they gave us a little bit of like, okay, but previously on like Interview with the Vampire, kind of big deal. They kind of reminded us of all that stuff because it has been a long time. So kudos to them for doing that. But through doing that, I felt like I didn't really need it. And let me guys know what you think in the comments. Like, do we really need that recap? Because I know we just like recently like covered this like a couple months ago, but like I was waiting for this. I was so excited. I was ready. I was ready. My body was ready. I was so ready to see and interact and be back in like this world of Anne Rice's bringing the vampires to life and seeing Louis and seeing Lestat and seeing Claudia. However, after this like recap of basically like previously on the Vampire Diaries. No, previously on Interview with the Vampire. So, sorry for making the mic beep. So, the first thing after we get the intro is, and let's see if I can read it, is the first thing we see, and I completely forgot that they were doing this, is the role of Claudia will now be played by Delaney Hayes. Delaney Hayes? I was like Delaney Hayes. If I'm butchering that name, forgive me. Yell at me in the comments. Go for it. But they are replacing this character. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah, I forgot that they were doing that. And I just laughed because I was like, oh yeah, fuck, I heard about this. I heard like she's not returning for the role of Claudia. So just as a recap, guys, if you guys aren't really in the know about this, Claudia is now gone through 3 actors. I don't remember the girl's name who played Claudia in season 1. Actually, let's see if we can look that up real quick. Claudia season 1 actress. What was her name? Oh, Bailey Bass? Yeah, Bailey Bass. That sounds like a DC comic name, by the way. Bailey Bass. Billy Baxton, Bailey Bass, yeah. Anyway, so Claudia, originally played by Bailey Bass, is getting replaced with Delaney Hayes. And going through this, I don't know. We talked a little bit about this with Game of Thrones, but House of the Dragons, how they went through and they actively changed different characters within the actual series and within a short span of episode. People freak the fuck out about this. I can't imagine the shitstorm that they're gonna probably receive with this change, or they probably have received, because this is on review, but like this is some time after. But I can't imagine the shitstorm that they're probably gonna get now, or she's probably gonna get for taking on this role of the third actress to hold the dawn of Claudia, because we had the first actress that was Kristen Dunst, second actress Bailey Bass, and now we have Delaney Hayes as Claudia. And honestly, she was doing an okay job, but like. Okay, like no racist. I'm a black individual, guys. It's like, I know you're not seeing my face, but I'm a black individual. I did not really recognize that the actress had changed until they did like a specific angle. Because when she comes out of the episode starts where they're going through this war and they're going through the European War at the time, and she comes out of the hole and we see her eyes, and I was like, well, we see Louis first, and he was like, "Oh, okay, Louis," and then I was like, "Okay, Claudia, how's this?" Because I went into it blind. I went into it like straight up blind. I didn't know how this bitch looked, so I was like, okay, like how is she gonna fit the role? Hopefully she, I just gotta raise this, but I'm like, hopefully she's black. Hopefully she's still black, because that's not gonna make any sense. Again, when they change roles for actors and actresses, it's weird, right? It's weird, but like, because they can really go out there, because it wouldn't even make any sense. Like, oh, now she's white. It's like, oh, did she have a reverse tan or something like that? Like, what the fuck is going on? But no, Delaney Hayes is white, as black as white. She's not white, she's black. They got her skin tone to like kind of try to like match her as well, and like they got her looking a lot. They tried to like, I think what we're trying to do is make her look as close as possible to the main original actress of Bailey Bass. And I actually did look into this a little bit as to like why Claudia didn't return. And I found an article, and this is kind of basically what it says. It says Bailey Bass is a talented actress who did a remarkable job for bringing her character Claudia to life in Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. Right. And then meanwhile, Bailey Bass's statement, we're going to scroll down here. It's saying Bailey Bass's statements on the matter is basically that it was read, due to a variety of unforeseen circumstances, I am unable to return to Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire for the second season. Playing Claudia has been a dream role and an incredible ride. I wish Delaney the best of luck in taking over. I cannot wait to watch. I'm extremely appreciative of AMC, the producers, Jacob, Sam, and the crew, and of course the wonderful fans. It also mentions that the actress previously starred as Cesaria in Avatar: The Way of the Water and is expected to reprise the role in the upcoming Avatar movies. As a result, scheduling conflicts might be to blame for the result of Claudia in Interview with the Vampire Season 2, but no one could fault Bass for putting James Cameron first. It sounds like they parted on good terms, because usually when actors go or we talk about a series here like The Vampire Diaries, when Elena was like, fuck this shit. Like, I was banging this dude or whatever. We were going out and we're banging co-stars but like, I don't want to be in the same room as them anymore, so I'm peacing out. And like, she just fucking left. When Elena just left, I was like, okay, like, what the fuck? At least she didn't, at least it wasn't like that. At least it was like Claudia just left and they had like a void to fill, and they had to restructure the story. No shout out to Nina Dobrev. No, understandably, you got to do what you got to do, girl. But like, it was kind of a like, what the fuck moment. You kind of left the fans being like, well, what do they got to do now? And they had to, obviously, that must have been a nightmare for those guys to restructure that. But anyway, keeping on point with Interview with the Vampire. They did not leave Claudia hanging. They did not say that she went to sleep. Claudia was reprised by this role, and Delaney did an okay job, I think, for episode 1. It was obvious, like, there were changes, but I think I still felt Claudia's energy from season 2, where she just wants to find other people like her and other vampires like her, and she wants to find a place of like essentially like belonging and etc. It was like an adjustment to get used to, but because there was no reason for it, I think that's what it is. Because in Game of Thrones, I keep saying Game of Thrones, House of the Dragons, when they replace different actors or actresses or whatever it is, they're telling a story, and that makes sense for the story, and we're used to seeing that. I think that's what it was for me. But to like see this different person play Claudia was like I had to get used to it. But like, I think, at least personally for me, like my eyes adjusted and my feeling of Claudia adjusted pretty fast. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, when you first saw the different Claudia, was it just like, whoa? Or was it just like, okay, yeah, all right, this is not that big a deal, whatever. We're just rolling with it. Yeah, cool. Yes, but like as for the episode itself, it was honestly I didn't, because again we covered the movie, so we know some spoilers as to what's gonna happen. If you've been following this channel, you know the spoilers that's gonna happen within the Interview with a Vampire as well. So you know some things that are essentially gonna go down. And I did not expect them to take it from the perspective of like the war, right? And I didn't expect them to like pick off from that angle. I thought we were gonna go jumping straight into like the theater stuff and spoilers, guys. Sorry, just theater stuff. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Theater stuff. I thought we were gonna leave it at that. But because obviously for season 2, episode 2, we get into more of that stuff when we saw the preview. If you sticked around for the true fans, AMC fans who saw that. I also wanted to talk about some of the things that we saw in season 2. So one of the things that it was season 2, episode 1. So one of the things that we saw as a fan, you guys were right. Yeah, I know you're right. The things we saw as an audience for season 2, episode 1. One of the things I wanted to talk about is they go to this camp and they're around like Russia, like area or whatever. And of course, something I want to talk about real quick is the whole yes, it's Russia. We have to talk about the fact that with black people in Russia or whatever, because they can't get over the fucking fact of it. There's this kid that said something that was very interesting. But before that, like let me kind of paint a picture as to what happened exactly. So Claudia and Louis find themselves in this like almost kind of like camp like area after being helped out by this lady who was like hunting rabbits for soldiers and feeding them. So it's basically like a tavern / bar kind of thing. And he's still talking to Malloy about, you know, he's still talking to Malloy about his experiences. So the interview is essentially still happening. And I like how they just jump right back into it. There wasn't no preamble. But something that is significant, we're going to talk about a little bit later, is the fact that Rashid is now in these meetings. So like, because he just revealed himself to be, you know, really the vampire Armand, right? And he's like, oh, I'm actually Armand. And so it's like, it's weird and he's participating in these interviews, but it's a little bit weird. But we're going to talk about that later. But like I was saying, Louis continues his talks and he tells the story of how he and Claudia found themselves in Russia in this tavern, in this bar. And these people that she meets, essentially this lady helps them out. These people that she meets starts questioning them. They do the whole thing of formalities of being like who you are, where you're from, blah, 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 what you're trying to do, etc., etc. And Claudia goes to fuck off with these kids because she's like, because Louis convinces her and he's like, tries to tell her like, you'd be better off going with the kids and getting information with them and I bet they know all about this place, etc. So she fucks off, she goes with the kid. And the situation I was talking about earlier is that like when one of the kids first meets Claudia, he says crow inside of like Russian or Ukrainian or whatever it is. He says crow. And obviously like that was like a jab towards her like skin color, because that was the thing I think I saw like in Arrow too. There was an episode like Arrow and Arrow goes to like Russia or whatever, and he had some ties with the Brotherhood of like Russian mafias and etc. or whatever. And the first time they see Diggle, the character that's black on Arrow, they say Croatia or whatever it is, and it just like means black as the black skin of a crow. I don't know, like let me know in the comments. It's not a thing in Russia. Is that a thing where it's like people call black people crows there? It's because if so, that's kind of fucked. But it's Russia and like they're not used to seeing black people, or whatever. The side note: Russians are dope, by the way, but like not in like Russian people in general, people all around the world, no discrimination. Yes, we have all problems in our countries or whatever, but I just want to say, Russian girls, dope. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's not get distracted. I like Russian girls. Anyway, let's not get distracted. I want to talk about the fact that when Claudia first, goes into the woods by herself, after parting ways from these kids, and she finds the revenant vampire, and how ghoulish and grotesque, non-beautiful this vampire looked. I appreciated that, actually. I gotta say something about that. I actually really did appreciate that, because all this time, all this traditional, well, not traditional, Twilight-looking vampires. We have various variations of vampires in general, actually, over the years. These humanoid beast-like creatures with like fangs that drink blood, right? Basically. But in this series, Ananias' series, we've never seen a vampire. We know vampires are supposed to look like, like Louis even said, they look like her, and they look like Claudia. They don't really look like these grotesque things. But they paid, I feel like when they brought the revenant vampire as an idea or whatever it is. I don't know how prevalent this is in the books, but when they brought that out as an idea, kudos to whoever did that, because like I think it pays homage back to when they do non-traditional vampires that look like non-humans, like look more like monsters, real monsters, more grotesque. They play homage to the whole monster. They even have it in the beginning, monster universe, like the monsters in general. Like, because remember, vampires were like, think pre-Twilight, think pre-Angel, think pre-Buffy, really romanticizing the vampire. The vampire is a monster. It's a killer. It's actually a horror monster thing, right? And they pay homage to that. And I just wanted to mention that because I respect that dude. Like that's the really cool. And how he was like getting dragged off into the woods. The soldier was getting dragged off to the woods as when Claudia first found him. Like that was very monster movie kind of like energy. And they have woven the like I said, the romanticism of a vampire and the aesthetics of being like this humanoid thing, a vampire with a monster, very well, in my opinion. And I think it speaks that doing that speaks a lot of the volume. It was like more in your face, but they're like more subtle about their killings and the fact that how they are monsters in general. But that was a more blunt in your face kind of thing, which showed a good variety of contrast, which I like really did appreciate. Like I thought that was actually really, really cool. And I want to talk about the scene where she was basically on top of him and trying to like where she gouges out. It was this really violent scene where she gouges out the eyes of the revenant vampire. So Louis and Claudia goes to tell Louis about the monster that she saw in the woods, and Louis is like, no way, or whatever it is, that's not happening. And the next morning they wake up and they found the original woman that found them. Basically it's hurt now, and she's got attacked by this monster, and she's about to get her head chopped off because they are suspicious about these European parks that vampires are above. And she has a bite mark on her neck, and it's basically like, we can tell like it's from a vampire. And so Kim and Claudia are like, they fuck off, and they actually let this woman, which is sad, they let that woman die. They could have done something. They could have like mind controlled these people and be like, don't do this or whatever. But like realistically, and as Louis said, it's like really none of their business, and it shows the cruelty of because like that's a very vampiric thing to do, like just like to let it be. And I guess that would have more or less like maybe exposed themselves a little bit more if they had stepped in. So yeah. Anyway, they just fuck off and they leave to go to the woods. So they go to the woods and they actually find this vampire dude and dudettes. They actually find these vampires. And it's vampires, by the way, because the revenant vampire comes about and tries to attack Louis. And Louis is, he's been eating rats, and I guess we've known from other things and other. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm making the assumption that Louis is weaker or not as strong because he doesn't always drink human blood. So, but he couldn't handle this revenant vampire. But like, I guess Claudia couldn't handle it too. But I just think it was like kind of like a bitch ass thing that Louis can. I don't know. It was like he was like barely fighting back. Anyway, but he kind of did get jumped because anyway, like I was saying, the revenant vampire comes out, and Claudia rips out his eyes because Louis was attacked. Was being attacked by him. Is attacked first by the Thing's mother and the female vampire that they meet in the woods. And then attacked also by the Revenant vampire. And basically to stop this, Claudia jumps on his back and rips his eyes out. And now he's like blind. And the Revenant mother is kind of, and the Revenant's mother is kind of like, yo, you know what the fuck? Why'd you do this? Like, it was my child. And it was kind of akin to like, she probably felt like she was showing it mercy. So she just like grabs this rock and bashes his head in. And basically murdering this like vampire that she believes is helpless. And I watched that and I was like, well, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like the Dragon Ball Z abridged thing or whatever it is, where Lord Slug rips off his arm after Goku breaks it or whatever it is, and then and the DBZA is like, oh no, you're supposed to leave it alone. It'll get better. and Lord Slug just rips off his arm and like grows back another one. I was thinking about like, well, why did she really have to bash his head in and kill him and decapitate him? Did she really have to kill this vampire Revenant? She called it his baby. She looked like she was in so much pain over the fact that he's now blind. Did she really have to kill him? Because I mean, well, I guess I know it's a Revenant, but realistically, wouldn't have the eyes grown back? I know the rules in this are very vague and weird. That's the thing. And the rules in this are very vague and weird because we've seen Louis fall from a fucking 300-foot drop or whatever it is, or airplane height fucking falls and fall flat to the ground and live to tell the tale afterwards, and he was completely fine. He recovered from that shit. It took a few months, but they heal. That's the whole point. The vampires, they heal. It takes a long time, but they do heal from the ridiculous wounds. I just thought that it was very, very odd that she decided to just like no, you won't get the chance to like regenerate these eyes or regrow these eyes. You know, we're just gonna scrap things. I was like, scrap things, and just like it's dead. And I guess the reasoning for that is like we find out later on that like she's been trying to make vampires, but it hasn't been working apparently because the blood in that country is weird. There's too much depression. There's too much war. There's something in the air going on with their blood. So it also ties into something that's been very vague about this is like how they create vampires or why the actual conditions needed to create vampires as well. So she's been having a hard time creating vampires. And it kind of brought me back to Claudia, actually. Remember in season 1 when she was trying to make vampires? Like I said, in this series, the rules for this are very weird, very vague. I mean, it's not weird. It's very vague. We still don't know what are the correct conditions to actually create a proper vampire. Is it just by chance, or is it just random, or whatever it is? Like, I think they're gonna keep that probably a secret, maybe until the end of the series, or maybe at the end of the season. Or I guess we'll just have to see. But it's definitely a theme that we've seen within this. All right, another thing we need to talk about real quick is, so they meet this vampire lady that's actually European ancient vampire or whatever. I forget what the Louis calls it. But they start, Claudia gets to start talking with her, and she starts talking with her, and she's telling her about how she's frustrated with the blood and X, Y, and Z, and she's trying to basically make friends with her. And Claudia even lets her drink from her blood, right? She gives her some of her blood, which is, I think, still kind of weird in the whole vampirism world / universe. I think that's really weird. But so Claudia gives her some blood. She drinks this blood, and she's like, she sees the difference. She tastes the difference within the blood, and she tells her, and they've been telling her about, Claudia's basically been telling her about like how she's from across the ocean, she's from America, all this other stuff. They start communicating, and you're thinking that the conversation's going well. The conversation's going well, everything's fine, nothing out of the ordinary. And Claudia starts speaking to her more about like and the woman tells her like all her other family is dead or whatever it is. And Claudia, in this scene, she has like a nice smile. I'll give it that, because she gets like genuinely happy when the woman starts saying like, yeah, like we will kill for pleasure, we will kill whoever and whatever we want, and we will be happy, and we will run through fields, and we will drink blood all day, and we'll feel the grass beneath our feet and the wind in our hair. And she's being all wistful and all nice or whatever it is. And she looks in her and she's giving all these hopes and dreams. And Claudia is getting so happy. She's feeling like, yes, I finally found a vampire that's not fucked up or not like a vampire like me, someone who I can enjoy. And she's like, my name is Dacia. And then Claudia tells her, my name's Claudia. And then Louis like, my name's Louis. And it's a wholesome family moment. It's a wholesome family moment of vampires. And then she says, we own nothing. And she jumps on the fucking fire and kills herself. And I thought to myself, what the fuck? What the fuck? I was like, what the actual fuck? And then it fades out to black when like Claudia looks at her and just like, whoa, what the fuck? And you know what though? I will say what I want to comment on that. The main thing I want to comment about that is like, I think it actually proves how fucked European vampires are. And I think that's what they're kind of like, that they were trying to like basically get there, because that was like a fucked moment. She giving us all this false hope, all this happiness or whatever it is, all this like imagination of like, oh yeah, this can happen, and like, and Claudia's like legit. It was kind of sad because like Claudia's like over 100 years old or whatever it is, but she's still a fucking child, and she was getting so happy, and you like see the glimmer and glee in her eye, and you actually see the dread that covers her face, that she goes to be back to being sad after like. She just throws herself in the fire and she kills herself. That was fucked up. Even for vampire standards, that's like fucked up. She's like, nah, fuck that. Because like that's again, like I think that they were just trying to show the crazy erratic behavior that is European vampires, right? There you go. There's something to do with the sun. There's a lack of sun, maybe. These little more sun. Anyway, all right. Lastly, I think I want to talk about this episode is the fact that, like, again, Armand is joining in these interviews now. And towards the end, they have a scene. We have a scene between Louis and Armand, and it's kind of alluded to that Louis has. I feel like, let me know, guys, know what you think in the comment. Louis is being played here. It feels like, let me know what you think in the comments for real. It feels like Louis is being played. It feels like Louis has been being played, and I feel like Armand has been manipulating his memories to some degree. It feels like that. Like it's just rooting around in his mind and just kind of hijacking and reprogramming his mind. He's an old vampire. He can do many, many things. He's sure he has many, many tricks. But these vampires, they are now together now, or Rashid and Armand, they are now having the interviews together. At the beginning of the episode, we saw Armand joining in on the interview, but he was sitting across from Louis at the table, and Daniel Malloy was sitting at the head. So it was kind of like he was there, but now separated. But now after that conversation, if you look back at the actual footage for the actual episode, they are now sitting together on a couch. They're more closer. They're together as a unit, as a couple, being there, standing their ground, taking this interview. So that was just something to note. Yeah. So like I said, new format, guys. These episodes are gonna be much shorter. We're gonna just jump into Ash's favorite scenes. Yeah, Ash's worst scenes. This episode, I don't think we have any actual worst scenes. This episode had I actually like, there was some strong things in this. I like the coming in at number 3. I think we're gonna definitely say was the scene where we found we first saw Claudia, I guess, because we know that the voice the actual actress is going to be looking a little bit different, and she was going to be looking a bit how the actress is going to perform. She did an okay job. It wasn't like jarring, it wasn't like ridiculous, but it was basically okay overall. Coming in at hot at number 2, I'm gonna definitely say was the scene that showed some real acting chops by the guy that plays Louis. Getting his name out, but Louis, when he admits to Daniel Malloy that he doesn't dream anymore, but he knew that Claudia could dream. So it basically him admitting and showing some kind of pulse that, like, there's something basically wrong with him, and for some reason, him as the vampire, he doesn't dream anymore. He can't dream anymore. And that's really tough. And like I've always said, the emotional scenes for really show the acting chops of an actor, because you can just act, you can say lines, and you could be in positions and hit your marks or whatever it is. But I think that what really shows the acting chops of an actor is like when you have those difficult scenes when it's time to cry. And I think he handled it very well. So I wanted to pay respects to that. That was kind of cool. And last and final scene that I think that deserves a number one spot is the Revenant scene. Like I said before, they paid homage to the old school Dracula horror kind of shtick. I gotta say number one A was the Revenant scene, where it was like, they're doing something different. They're trying something different, and it's not just a normal looking vampire. I want to see more Revenant vampires. I want to see more different looking vampires than just the normal vampires that we're used to. Yes, build upon a world that we know of the vampires being all beautiful and romanticized or whatever it is, because that's what sells the show. I get that. That's what brings some of the audience in. But also, I think catered towards that audience, which I'm not even a really big horror fan, but like catered towards that horror fan too, bringing different variant kind of vampires. I like that idea. I think that's kind of cool. So bring more of that. And then top number one spot for number 1B would also be when they met this the female vampire, and she just jumps. How that whole sequence of she's like giving her all this hope, blah 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 blah, and she just jumps in the fire. Excellent way to show how fucking insane European vampires are, like Lestat was, and like how essentially he said that the rest of them kind of were. She did warn Claudia that they're all fucked. All right. Yeah, and that's basically going to be the episode, guys. Before we go, let's hear the score for this episode. And Linda is not going to be joining us. We're going to go ahead. Yeah, we fired her. No, but we're just going to go ahead and give the score. And this score for The Interview with the Vampire Season 2, Episode 1 is going to receive a score of a solid 2 out of 5. Yeah, while this episode was good, it wasn't what I was expecting from Season 1. I thought it was going to hit harder. And I know, like, the original probably isn't exactly always going to be exactly like the second season, or the second movie, or the sequel isn't going to be as good as the original. But, however, I was expecting more, because if we look back and we go to the Season 1, Episode 1, the premiere, the pilot of Interview with a Vampire, that was fucking amazing. And I know, again, it's a different experience. It's your first time experiencing it or whatever it is. But no, it actually holds up. This is on review. If you go back and watch that episode again, that's an amazing episode, because yes, we're being introduced to other things, but that whole scene when Lestat like bursts like that fucking his fist through that guy's hand in the cage, that was beautiful. That was amazing. That was art. That was cinema. But yeah. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. That's the end of the episode. Don't forget to check us out on all of our socials. Don't forget to check out the Facebook, the Instagram, and the Twitter. Just do the sociable things, be sociable, and hit us up in the comments as well if you have any questions, and let us know what you think. Honestly, we want to interact with you guys, and we want to give our feedback and our talks as well. But thanks for listening, guys. And like I always say at the end of every episode, be safe, be kind, be you. Take care.